Friends, Jordan Montgomery here, and we're glad that you've tuned into another episode of the Growth Over Goals podcast. Before we jump into today's conversation, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Thompson & Co. Salon and Parlor. Thompson & Co. Salon and Parlor is a family-owned, stylist-owned community salon that fits the needs for all types of families. Located in downtown Iowa City and now a second location in Coralville, North Liberty area, TCO specializes in all things hair. In fact, that's where I've been getting my hair done for the last 7 years. TCO specializes in hair cutting, razor cutting, the most modern color techniques, and high-end hair extensions. As one of Iowa's only inner coiffure salons and Salon Today's top 200 salons in the U.S., TCO looks forward to being the salon of choice for you and those you love. Be sure to call or book on their website today at thompsonandcosalon.com. Thank you, TCO, for all you do for us and our community. Welcome back to the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery. Today, I'm with a dear friend, actually a family friend. I've now grown close to this family, just think the world of them, strong in their faith, connected, talented, devoted to things that matter. They're living a life of integrity and have such a cool family story. Today, I'm with Kathryn Gordon. And Kathryn, it's such a joy to be with you because I spend a lot of time with your husband. I've spent time with your kids, Jade and Cole. And I keep saying, like, man, everybody, is talking about Jon. Many people now know who you are. You've just burst onto the scene with this incredible podcast. I just got done telling you offline that I think Jon's best work actually flows through you. My opinion is the best book that he's written was a book that was co-authored with you. That we're going to talk about today. But in case there's some people listening that aren't familiar with your background, your story, I want people to know that you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a real estate investor. You are actually behind movie production. So you've been in film, you're a model, you're an actress, you're a podcast host. Kathryn For Real is a top-rated podcast. Love your show, by the way. And you're also a best-selling author of one of my favorite books that Ashley and I have just fallen in love with that we'd love to talk about today. The book, Relationship Grit. We're going to talk about grit. It's an acronym that the world needs to hear. But from me to you, I just want to say thank you to investing your time and energy with our community. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the show, Kathryn Gordon.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jordan. And we feel the same about you. We love you. We love your family. And just the relationship that you and Jon have been able to forge and cultivate, especially over this last year. I've loved seeing it. So I can't wait to spend more time with you too.
Well, right back at you. Ashley and I prayed for, we both pray for mentors and people in life who will challenge you and call you upward and inspire. And this last year, I was just telling you offline, I had prayed about, that mentor that we could run with. And, Jon and I have formed this really great relationship. He's been so good to me, to Ashley, has opened doors, has just spent time with me and helped me grow in so many different ways. And so just thankful for the relationship that we share with Jon, with you, and even with the kids, with Cole and Jade. We'll probably talk about them today too. And it was so fun hanging out with you guys in Las Vegas for the Dinner at Champions event. I just know that there's going to be more that we do with, Jon and Kathryn moving forward.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And, I was telling you offline, I'll always love you because you actually invited my daughter to come speak in Iowa. And it's from that she is now speaking for our company. And I got to tell you a funny story about that real quick because, I think she's going to end up taking over the company. Jon went to go do a talk. I was with them and she's critiquing him. It was up in Harvard. We were just in Boston. And then after Jon and I left, Jade took off back to Austin and Jon went to go speak somewhere else. And she had given him some advice from his talk, right? Of what he needed to do. It was hilarious. I'm just sitting back watching the dynamic. She actually texts me on the side and goes, after Jon gave this talk, after we left her, and she goes, "How did Dad do?" She wanted to know everything. Have the tables
turned. Yes.
This is what used to happen when she was on the lacrosse field and Jon was traveling. But yeah, so I just want to say thank you so much because now she's doing it, So
cool. So cool.
Yeah.
You
So
know, our dear friend Andy Stanley said the test of great parenting is that you would create a situation such that your kids would want to return back. You know, that they would want to spend time with you, be with you. And it's just cool that you and Jon have that with Cole and with Jade. And
Yeah.
by the way, watch out world, Cole and Jade. I just had a great conversation with Cole the other day about his professional future as he navigates that. And Jade is lighting the world on fire. We had so much fun having her in Iowa City, and she's just got a huge future writing, speaking, and influencing people. So credit mom and dad for raising two great kids.
And I'm going to credit God because
and
it was
that's right.
all
Amen.
him.
Yep. God's
Yeah.
grace and amen. Hey, I do want to talk about parenting, but I also want to talk about this topic that's underrated, overlooked, doesn't get talked about enough, especially, Kathryn, I believe, with young men. And we have a lot of young men listening today, a lot of young people just in general. If you're a 20-something, you're a 30-something, maybe you're dating right now, maybe you're newly married, maybe even married a long time. Kathryn's message is for you. And as a podcast host, you know, Kathryn, I think you'd agree with this. You want to say a lot about a little instead of a little about a lot. And I started thinking about where could we press in with Kathryn with all the stuff that you do and all the things that you're working on. You're a subject matter expert in so many different areas. If we were going to deliver maximum value to the audience, how might we spend this 30 or 40 minutes that we have together? And I think it's the topic of marriage and relationships. And so I want to talk about Relationship Grit, this book that you and Jon wrote together. That's one of our favorite. Grit's an acronym. I'd love just to lean right into it. But before we go there, I know some of this our audience might not know. Why did you decide to co-author Relationship Grit with your husband, Jon Gordon?
It's funny because after Jade had went off to college and Cole was away at a sports academy, I was home a lot more with Jon, and I was home in Florida more. And so I was out and about. I kept running into people and running into women, and I was running into them not on the sports field with their kids or, you know, something having to do with kids, but standing in the grocery store. I'd be in the produce aisle and a woman would come up to me and just kind of lean in and say, "Hey, I'm having a hard time. You know, my husband and I are separated." Another friend come up, "Hey, my husband and I are getting a divorce." And I kept thinking, why do people keep coming up and telling me this? I mean, at the time, you know, I wasn't, but it just kept happening. And I literally would stand in the produce aisle next to the carrots for like an hour and a half counseling, you know, these women. And I would go home and I would kind of share with Jon things that were going on and we'd talk about it. And it just kept happening. And then one day, and I know it was God, I realized I need to write something that can guide these couples and let them know that just because you're going through a valley, you know, just because you're going through a dark time doesn't mean you need to throw in the towel. You know, I mean, why? Because that was Jon and I's story. And the more I started sharing about our story, it gave people hope. It gave couples hope. And so that's when I went to Jon. And this was before COVID, which is interesting. We finished the book right before COVID and literally kind of started the whole book launch during COVID. So it was a crazy time in terms of the way that it got out there, but it was needed more than ever because all of a sudden couples were home 24/7, right? You know, they weren't out traveling. Like all of a sudden people were looking at each other. I can't remember exactly the statistic, but I think it was that divorces went up like 45% during, I mean, something crazy. I can't remember the statistic now, but you know, so it was a time when it was really needed.
Yeah. Well, it's been so useful in the lives of many, you know, in our marriage, in our life. And my most important relationship next to the one that I have with my maker is my wife, Ashley. And this has been really helpful to us. I want to talk through the acronym. You know, Ashley and I are two very imperfect people, and we spend a lot of time together. We're both business partners, and we raise these 4 children together. And so we're just together a lot. I mean, on average, I bet Ashley and I call each other 15 times a day.
Yep.
Now, a lot of that's business exchange back and forth. But it's just constant communication, and we're two imperfect people. So credit our marriage coaches, Jill and Mark Savage. They say, we're two imperfect people and we're bumping into each other's imperfect all day, every day.
All day.
Let's work backwards on the acronym. The T in GRIT stands for together. You and Jon have just stood tall together for so many years. 26 years. Am I right about that?
Yep. 26 years married,
in
28,
marriage, 28
together.
Dating, if you count the dating years. So I want you to talk about together, what that means to you, and if you give people a window into this book, what they might find in relationship grit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that we're going backwards. This is kind of interesting. And what does that? How does that go? Would it be TIRG?
Trig. We're going trig today. Relationship trig.
Together. You have to work on your marriage together. You have to be in it together. And I know that, it's kind of like, well, yeah, we're together, but so many times it doesn't work that way. Like it seems like, one of you is not in it, not committed. And now when I say that, I don't mean that you have to both give 50%, that it has to be equal. Right? It's really, there's always going to be an ebb and flow.
Right.
You might be working on something and you have so much focus on that. You don't have a lot of time to give to the relationship. You're going to need the support of your partner. And it's going to go vice versa, especially when you're raising the kids.
Yeah.
But just know that you're on the same team, that it's we, not me. And I came up with this really cool analogy, and it's think about it like tug of war. So if you're on one end of the rope and your partner's on the other end and you're pulling against each other, right? You're trying to get something done and you're trying to get something, your strength is cut in half. But if you're both on the same side of the rope, pulling against your opponent, pulling against life together, your strength is doubled. And so you have to remember to be on the same team. And not point the finger. I think so many times it's easy to go, well, you're not doing this. And then you're not doing this. No, be the one to support the other in times, when it's crazy, when in times of need. I also like to say the T stands for team. Just remember you're on the same team. Because when you're on the same team, right, you're headed in the right direction. But when you're not, you're keeping score. And when you keep score, you're both going to lose. So stay on the same team together, right? So I like the T for that reason. I have my own stories of when we weren't on the same team. I mean, Jon was traveling a lot. I was home. The kids were in sports, and he would call, and I would be in the middle of like utter chaos. The kids had homework. I was still trying to feed them. And another issue I had was my kids both had gluten allergies. So when I was, taking them home from sports, I couldn't just stop at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. Like I had to make everything. So it was a really hard time. And one night, Jon calls and the kids are still up. It was late. And he said, is that the kids I hear? What are they still doing up? Oh my God, Jordan, I lost it. Like we were definitely not on the same team. I wanted to take him down, and I'm like, oh, let me guess. You're in a quiet hotel room by yourself. You don't have to take care of anybody. You don't have to feed anybody. You can watch whatever so we were really going back and forth in it. So that was a time when we weren't together, when we weren't on the same team.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, I got to tell you what happened. Fast forward, it was a couple months later and I had really hit a brick wall. I mean, things were, I was at a stress level that I really couldn't go on. And I literally picked up the phone and I called him and I said, you need to come home. You need to come home. I need help. Like we need
Mm.
to be on the same team. And he said to me, okay, I'll come home. You want me to come home and do your job? I was like, so that was like
Oh boy.
the bomb drop, right? That was
Yeah.
not cool. I was like, what? But you know what? He ended up coming home and he ended up helping me in
Mm.
that time together. He had cleared his schedule. He wasn't speaking for a month or two. In that schedule, he ran the kids to practices. He was running. And by the way, in the beginning, he was like, oh, yeah, this is so easy. I don't know what she's, like, what's she talking about? But you know what? It's the daily grind. It's like the
Yes.
daily grind.
That's
And
right.
so, but after that, he ended up, really, really appreciating what I did.
Mm.
And he realized, like, wow, he always says he thought he needed a different team. No, he needed to be a better leader on the team, right?
Better teammate. Yeah.
And so, again, that's our story of, and by the way, during that time when that happened, that strengthened our relationship and his relationship with the kids, right? Because he wasn't
Mm.
really home. So, T together, do it together, but it doesn't always, don't think it has to be equal, and be a team.
We over me. And I love that, I want to say this about you and Jon, both of you, because you give each other a hard time and you're both, hilarious in your own way. And you're so,
I probably give him more of a hard time than he gives me.
well, you're really real and authentic. Even the book is just, it's pretty transparent. But you've always been really intentional about honoring the other person, honoring each other. I've always noticed, like, when Jon talks about his life, his work, Kathryn Gordon is always at the center of it, and he's giving you credit, and he's talking about you and propping you up and making it very known, like, Kathryn and I are a team. And I know that you do that for Jon as well. So I appreciate that in today's world, where that's not always the case, that people are willing to honor each other behind closed doors when the other person's not around.
Jordan, 100%. And I find it interesting as we share that, or as Jon, shares something, about me, or I share, you can see the look on people's eyes, because for so many people, they're like, wow, they're really doing that. And they're saying it out loud. Like, it's almost like, and I've been trying to figure out exactly what it is. Like, why would that not be okay? But, and it could have been just what they saw in their own parents' relationship, whatever. But I notice when we start doing it, couples will start doing it. Like, I'll start to hear, like, hey, I started to lift him up more. And the craziest thing happened. Like, he was saying, like, all of a sudden, they see it, you're lifting each other up. You're growing together, which is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I just think it's great to be a team when you're together. It's also great to be a team when you're apart.
Yep.
And I think you've managed that well, and living sometimes in two very different worlds. There's some things that you do that Jon doesn't do, and vice versa. And you've managed to stay connected. I think a lot of that has to do with the I. We're working backwards. So
You're good.
The T is together. The I is invest. And would love for you to share some thoughts on what it means to really invest in your relationship.
Yeah. So I love this one because, I think it's normal for us to be in a marriage, to be in a relationship. And once you're married, you're busy kind of creating your life. You're busy trying to make things happen, that you just assume, well, my partner's there, like that. No, we're married. It's all good. And, I need to go create something for the family. And all those things are great. And it's wonderful to have drive. But what gets neglected a lot of times is the spouse. And I always kind of say it like this. It's like, if you want to be fit and you want to be healthy, you have to invest time in the gym. You have to invest time in preparing healthy foods, right? It's not just, oh, you know what? I want to have a rockin' bod. It doesn't just happen. You work for it. Same with your bank account, right? You got to put the money in to make it grow. And so investing is so important. And so many times we'll invest in our coworkers, what's going on at work, even our children, which of course they need it. But it's our spouse is normally the last person to get our attention or get, fed emotionally, spiritually, and, all of that. And so it's about making it a priority and investing in the relationship. So, and it can be little things. It didn't have to be big things. John Gottman did a study, and couples who invested small amounts of time, small amounts of energy into the relationship were 95% more likely to stay together. 95. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you're right that like love is oftentimes spelled Time, and we got to spend the time. It takes work. And I'll give a shout out to Mark Batterson. He has this beautiful quote. He said, "I want to be respected most by people who know me the best."
Love that. And, I'm doing his circle maker right now.
It's awesome, isn't it? I mean, the circle maker.
Yeah, it's my second time doing it. Yeah.
Gosh, shout out, Mark. You're great. Just love your work. But that line, like, especially for those who are listening, maybe you're in the world of speaking or training or coaching, or I don't know if you got a real estate business or you work in finance, but if you're in the people business or you care at all about impacting people, there might be a tug on your heart to serve some people on the periphery. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes when that happens, Kathryn, we actually forsake the people who matter most, you know? And to your point, sometimes that can be spouse, right? It's like, I'm so busy serving this audience of people whom I barely really know. Yeah. And then my kids, or worse yet, my spouse is getting what's left over, which is really unfortunate. But I know when I get to the end of my life, those words resonate. Like, I want to be respected most by people who know me the best. And I think it's cool that you and Jon have such great respect for each other, that when you talk to Kathryn about Jon, or you talk to Jon about Kathryn, what you would say about one another is, he has my utmost respect. Yeah. And not that you're perfect, but I think that's a really big deal. Yeah. And you've had to work through the R. Let's go to R. We could talk for another 2 hours. It's resolve.
Yeah. You got to resolve. You've got to resolve to stay together. It's so easy, especially in today's society, with the apps and the swipe left or swipe right, or, my kids tell me that. They're like, Mom, it's just so easy to, like, if there's one thing, so they just move on, like everybody's moving on. And so we've kind of lost that. Resolve to work on your relationship. The grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. So, and lately I've been talking a lot about this and with couples, because they might be going through, the ups and downs. And I say it is like riding a roller coaster ride. You're going to go up when you go down, and you're going to go down when you go up, but stay on the ride, right? Yeah. Stay on the ride, because that's just life, and so good. I'm not saying to stay in a relationship. Obviously, there are times when maybe you shouldn't. If somebody is being physically, abusive or something like that, I'm not saying you need to power through that. But I'm saying in general, most of the time it's just stuff that comes up, and, you don't want to deal with it. And then, maybe somebody, you're seeing a life that someone has at work that seems so much more. But no, it's all the same thing, right? Yeah. As long as you're like just staying in it and resolving. And there's a lot of great stuff that comes out of that.
There really is. And I think for all of us, the comparison game, right, in social media, and seeing how other people are living or choosing to spend and invest their time can so often trip us up. And the quickest way to kill something special is to compare it to something else. And marriage is special, and relationships are special. So I know what makes your relationship special is that it's founded on the right thing. It's founded on faith, and the G. And part of the reason we work backwards is I wanted to land this plane on the most important letter in the acronym, which is God. And you and Jon have a strong faith. Your marriage is rooted in your faith. Talk to us about how that makes a difference when it comes to relationships.
Jordan, that changed everything for us. Everything. If you don't know my husband or know his backstory, he was Jewish. So he grew up he wasn't, they didn't practice Judaism, but he was a Jew, and didn't go to synagogue, but his stepfather was Catholic, but again, they didn't go to church, but they would celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas. And then I grew up Catholic, but I didn't go to church except for Christmas and Easter. So there was no religion or spiritual, practice happening for either one of us. As a young adult, and that's a whole other story, but I was super, super wild and hit rock bottom and ended up, really seeking God, and developed a amazing practice and was surrounded by some great people. And then Jon had his own revelations as well. So when we met, we were more new age. And I didn't ever pressure him to become a Christian because I wasn't like really practicing that at the time. And so it's the coolest story. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but like he started seeing signs. He started seeing billboards. Jesus is the answer, right?
Yeah.
He would go into a hotel room and on the TV would be, is it TBN? TBN would be on with a show. And then somebody gave him a sermon by Erwin McManus, who, by the way, is now his best friend. And so Jon started bringing that into our home. And it was through Jon and through his teachings that we started learning really who Jesus was, right? What the teachings of Christ were, not so much of what you see, not church, although we went to church, but it was really about Jon was living the principles. And so from that, we started a family meeting, which I highly recommend people do, even if you don't have kids, with just you and your spouse. And Jon would read scripture or something that really resonated, and we'd go around the room and talk about it. And so we came up with a family mission statement. This is kind of going sideways, but I'll come back to why I'm saying this. We came up with a family mission statement, and it's the Gordons love and honor God in all that we do. And so through the course of raising the kids, as things would happen, it was just very simply like, you did that? Well, is that loving and serving God in all that you do? So it was just a really great foundation, for us to, us to catapult off. But so Jon and I hit a rough patch in our relationship, and that's something we talk about in Relationship Grit. And I was going to leave him, and he got on a plane and had met this man, and he's crying almost. Well, he doesn't like it when I say that, but like very upset. Telling this stranger that he didn't know that his wife was going to leave him. He had shared that he was unfaithful when we first got married. It's now 14 years at that time after that I ended up finding out about this. And, he was distraught. Like he wanted to keep his marriage and he, together, and he loved me very much. And the man said, something similar happened in my own relationship. And I came up with a prayer. I suggest you come up with a prayer, and that prayer you guys should say together. And so Jon came up with a prayer. Do you want to hear it?
I want to hear it.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay. God, we invite you into our marriage and family to love us, to heal us, to unite us, to strengthen us so we can grow strong together and serve you together and raise children that glorify and honor you. And, he would say that prayer every single night. And I did not want to hear the prayer. But finally, I started memorizing it. Yeah, finally, I started memorizing it. And then I finally ended up saying the prayer with him. What happened was just one night, I reached over and I grabbed his hand. And I also knew that was the night that I forgave him. So that's our prayer. And I always tell people you're welcome to use our prayer or, parts of it to come up with your own, but I highly recommend it. And just so you know, we say that prayer to this day, every single night. Even if Jon is in Iowa and I'm in Santa Monica, wherever we are, we'll both say it and we'll text each other and go, I just said our prayer. sometimes we'll say it on the phone together. So
that is just so special, really, really special. Yeah. I mean, I think the fact that you've been so intentional about keeping God first and foremost, and in light of, some difficult circumstance, I think part of what makes you two potent is that you're willing to put your weakness and your story and your imperfection on display. And I've said this 100 times on our podcast. I'm going to say it again, but this is part of your magic, Kathryn. This is part of the magic of relationship grit in the Gordon brand and the impact that your family has put out into the world. It's this quote, it's people can be impressed with your strengths, but they connect to you through your weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And I love that you are all so dynamic and you're gifted and to know the Gordon family is to know big energy and, they're going to make you laugh and light you on fire. And you just have this, like, you're all just a magnet for people and people want to be around you. But behind that is this really real, authentic style and personality, and God's using every ounce of it for good. So thank you for the work you're putting out into the world. Thanks for relationship grit. It's meant a lot to me and Ashley. I know that you've helped people today on our podcast, and you and Jon have helped so many readers and people who follow your work. So this conversation is the conversation that I wanted to have. And I was like, man, I hope Kathryn's willing to have it, because again, there's so much that you're doing and that you're working on. But this conversation is a conversation that I think the world needs to hear. Tell us what's next for Kathryn Gordon. I think there might be something you're working on that the world might need to know a little bit about.
Yeah. So, I just finished an outline for a book that I'm writing, and I don't know what the title is yet. And I even have a hard time saying it because I don't want it to sound like what it's not, but it's basically the secrets to a great sex life. But it's not a sex book. It's really about monogamy and bringing God into your relationship and intimacy and connection. And it's not talked about, kind of like our book, Relationship Grit. A lot of people don't talk about the fact that they had an affair and how they got through it. And that's why I feel like it needed to be told. That story needed to be told. Yeah. And the same with this book. So I haven't finished it yet. I just wrote the outline, but I feel like it'll be something that can help relationships because physical connection, isn't just for pleasure. I mean, it's so much deeper than that. Yeah.
Yeah. And sex is a gift, and it's a huge part of marriage, and God created it to be unique and special. And so I love that you're talking about the things that other people maybe aren't willing to talk about. And thanks for talking about it in a way that encourages people. There's somebody listening to this episode today and they're hurting. And then they're in a marriage and they're disappointed, or maybe you're dating somebody and it's falling apart, or you're single and you wish that you weren't, and you desire to be in a relationship. And regardless of where you find yourself today, I hope that you found today's message inspiring and helpful, and I hope that you'll check out the book Relationship Grit by Jon Gordon and Kathryn Gordon. We're going to put a link in the show notes. Kathryn, thanks for being on today. Thanks for your friendship. Thanks for investing your time and energy into my life and into our community. I love what you and Jon stand for. We're just such huge supporters of your family, and think the world of you, and look forward to many more conversations for many years to come. So this was a blessing.
I'm so grateful for you and Ashley. I can't wait to meet the rest of your family. So thank you so much, Jordan. Really.
Well, we're honored, to know you and to run with you, and hopefully it's to the glory of God for many years to come.
Amen.
Amen. And I know we have a lot to look forward to together. So God bless you, Kathryn. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being here. If you found any value in this episode, I would love it if you would rate, review, subscribe to this podcast in an effort that we might move our mission of impact forward. I also want to say thank you to our producers, John Choate and James Roth of Storyline Multimedia, for all of the work that they do behind the scenes to make this podcast go. Be well, be great. Have a wonderful day.